Welcome back to Rappahannock Issues with our election night special. We have a couple of results in. First, we'll deal with the one we have from Spotsy so far. Commonwealth Attorney with 81% of the vote in. A very tight race. Byrd has 8,587 to Neely's 8,400. So it's 50 to 49%. So the Spotsy race is turning out very close in Commonwealth Attorney. We have basically all of Stafford in. And so, David, do you want to start with your favorites?
Well, they're all my favorites. We'll start up here. This is with 100% of the votes counted. And Rock Hill, Wendy Maurer has 55% of the vote. That translates to 2,107 votes. Bob Gibbons at 37%. It's 1,395 votes. Paul Wadowski, 25%. 258 votes at 6%. So that's pretty decisive, and that is, of course, Wendy Maurer, a little trouble with that, will be joining the Board of Supervisors as a new member in 2016. So congratulations.
The interesting thing it would be that you would now have 3 women on the Board of Supervisors, Maurer, Sellers, and Baumke.
And that has never been the case before. It's the first time. And a near majority, need one more, they'll have 4. So, and it's been a long time since 1971 when Winnie Parrish joined the Board of Supervisors as its first woman member. So a lot of time has passed. And one other I'd like to mention before I turn it back to Tom is that Tricia Healy, the incumbent school board member for the Rock Hill District, now has 58% to Federhoff's 40%. So she has won that seat. And there's a lot of good stuff here, but I think I'll turn it over to you because you've got some special interests of your own.
Yes, in the George Washington School Board race, you have Dwayne McCosker with 38% of the vote with 1,250. Oliver at 1179 with 36% of the vote, and Medawar with 797 with 24% of the vote. I'm not certain if that's the 100% or if they're still waiting for White Oak, and we'll have to check on that. Last I heard, they were waiting for White Oak, but it looks as though Ms. Cosker's been holding that lead fairly steady. The Ferry Farm numbers, he won Ferry Farm by 446 to 305. So he sort of built up an area. Ferry Farm district was where he was living, and so he sort of had a natural base there, and that's sort of what is propelling him towards that. For Cavalier and Bratton race, Cavalier has won re-election with 61% of the vote to Bratton's 37%, 1398 to 838. If this holds and the George Washington district holds, that would mean both races that Meg Baumke has gotten involved in, she was not successful. And so that's an interesting wrinkle. I know Dick Hammerstrong was telling us about an issue with signs in Spotsy. Stafford in the George Washington district, we had the same problem where for the school board race, and as you know, because you were on the school board, you run nonpartisan, and Oliver was putting Republican on her signs, even though she failed to get the Republican endorsement. And so the party had to send her a letter.
Details.
Yeah, and send her a letter saying they were hoping that she was not trying to deceive the voters by putting the stickers on their signs. And so what I would be interested in looking at is how much the Oliver votes in those districts match the Susan Simpson votes for delegate in the primary.
And it is interesting, supervisors do occasionally meddle in other districts. It's nothing unusual about that. Paul Mildy got involved in several races in the last election. And it's not unprecedented going way back into history. Usually it's not successful. Sometimes it is. In this case, it's fair to say that Mrs. Baumke was unsuccessful across the board.
The last school board race that we were sort of talking about is up in the Griffiths-Widewater race, where you have Reinbold, looks like she has lost to Emily Fallon, and Fallon getting 55% of the vote to Reinbold's 43. And it may be an interesting wrinkle here that with the $9 million, but the school system sort of spent $664 of it, so they keep saying the $8.3 million issue with money. The two strongest members of the school board that were advocating for doing something and transparency and audits and that this was inappropriate were Dwayne McCosker and Trish Healy. And it's sort of interesting that both of them are being reelected tonight. Where Dana was not as vocal on that issue, and it seems as though in what could have been a very close race, that may or may not have made the difference if you were seen by the people as being a good steward of that money.
Dwayne McCosker made a very good point when he went door to door, and I spoke to him some about this. Namely, he said that when people would ask him about class sizes, if he'd only known about the 8.3 million, they wouldn't have had to cut 55 teachers. And it was, to him, just mind-boggling that they wouldn't have known about the money and that they had to take such a draconian step that actually hurt the children.
Right.
And he was very upfront about it, very vocal, and I think that made the difference in the outcome of the race.
Really, I mean, and looking at some of the district results, he went to disparate areas of the district and hit people that he really did a real ground game. And he also had the endorsement of Bill Howell, sort of head off the Baumke, Oliver trying to get the Republican vote. We have the clerk of court, 81% in Spotsylvania County. Thank you, Michael. That's Jet. The incumbent has 53% to 17 for Clark and 29 for Bullock. And we just got some results. 100% votes count in Spotsy.
That's right. This is the Salem district with 100% reporting. Blaine, the incumbent in the Salem district, is defeating Davis by a surprisingly narrow margin, considering that that is a Republican-Democratic matchup, and that is with 43%. So.
Right, and remember, technically independent, because school boards run independent.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're talking about the school board, yes.
Board of Supervisors with 50% of the vote in the Cortland district. You have Ross with 60% and Kingman with 39%. And then, do you want to do the Livingston district before we go to break?
All right, this is the Livingston Board of Supervisors race. Benton is showing it. This is an interesting result. With 59%, and Martin, the incumbent, is showing at 37%.
Yep. So it looks like
it is an upset in the works.
There may well be an upset in that district, which would be an interesting situation.
Frankly, we're not expecting any upsets in Spotsylvania Board of Supervisors tonight.
Really. Okay, and just to remind you that there were a lot of races on both sides of the Rappahannock River that were not even tested. In Spotsy, the Commissioner of Revenue, Treasurer, Supervisor in Salem, and in Chancellor, school board members. We'll have more results for you when we come back from the break, and we hope that you will stay with us as we go on.